Hey friends, if you're looking to move out for the very first time and have no idea what to expect financially, this video is for you. Howdy there, my name's Hannah, and today we're talking about you getting your very first apartment. Whether you're a high school graduate fresh out the nest, or you just finished your 16th year of med school and you finally have enough time to think about yourself outside of school, there's a lot to consider when moving into your own place for the very first time. So, without any further ado, we're just gonna skidoo right into this little topic with a few good thoughts, questions, and things to think through when it comes to picking the perfect place. First up, and the absolute most crucial starting point of this whole process, know your income. This obviously sounds obvious, but what I really mean is be completely and totally realistic about what you actually make. If you work hourly or maybe have variable income, maybe take one of your lower earning months, consider that your average take-home pay, and base your housing budget off of that. It's always better to come out of a month with a few surprise dollars left over than scrambling to find more. Yeah? Secondly, when browsing for that perfect first apartment, be looking for rent that is 1/3 or less of your monthly take-home pay. For the longest time, I thought this was just a pro tip, but this is actually due to the National Housing Act of 1937. And now you know. Now, the rule says you can pay rent that's 1/3 of your income, but is that really comfortable? Do you want to be living on the very brink of what you can afford? Or do you think you could find a few options that sit below the 1/3 line? Just because the rule says we can doesn't always mean we should. If you can't meet the 1/3 rule, you typically will need a cosigner, which is someone who is contractually obligated to pay your rent if you ever find yourself unable to do so. Lastly, know your priorities and evaluate needs versus wants. If this is your first apartment, you will likely need to take on more of a buy for the budget mindset and probably won't be able to find the bay windows, white trim, and hot tub out back you were hoping for just 4 easy payments of $19.99. I'd encourage you to identify your top 3 needs and top 3 wants. Maybe you find a place that covers 2 of your main needs and 1 of your wants, and hey, that's pretty good for a first apartment. There's always room to move up later in life, but don't get caught up in aesthetics over actual needs. Whew! And with all that adult speak out of the way, it's time to talk expenses. They come in many forms: your fixed or recurring expenses, one-time costs, first-time costs, and lifestyle costs. Your job is to determine what each of these expenses will look like for you. Add them all up and see how they work together with your income, and adjust accordingly until you land on a comfortable arrangement. First up, let's talk those steady, fixed or recurring costs. These are the expenses you must be prepared for monthly. They're always there, same price, you can't escape them, and often they're some of your higher end expenses. So go ahead and grab a piece of paper or a Google Doc and jot these down. Most apartments require renter's insurance, running you between $5 and $20 a month. Always ask about utilities. Sometimes your landlord will cover some for you or offer a flat monthly rate for one or a few. Other times, you're totally on your own, and it's not a bad idea to ask your friends what their utility bills average out to be to get a ballpark idea. And don't forget that pets pay rent too, and their rent is often determined by their weight. So if you were thinking about adopting a Great Dane, maybe encourage him to also apply to Starbucks or Men's Warehouse. I don't know. Next, we have the one-time costs of this specific apartment. If you were to move somewhere else later on down the road, you'd have to pay these expenses all over again for that new place, but only once per lease, typically. When you sign a lease, you'll pay a security deposit to cover any damage done to your apartment discovered upon you moving out. Security deposits can range anywhere from half a month's rent to 3 months worth of rent, so be sure to not overlook this one-time expense. Don't forget that all utilities come with initial installation fees, so your first bill for each utility will be significantly higher than all the following bills. And while you might not need to rent a moving truck this time around, it's not a bad idea to pay back some of your moving buddies with a hot pizza and a cold drink. Technically, this is a cold drink at this point, so. Now we're on to the first time costs and needs. We all have to start somewhere, and if this is truly your first time getting an apartment, you might not have a lot to your name just yet. These are items you could buy once and for all, or update them later on down the road. So I'm just gonna spit off a list of all the items you'll wanna collect as you prepare to move into your own place. So feel free to pause the video if you'd like and jot these down or take a screenshot. And I'm just gonna roll through these room by room. First up, we have the kitchen. You'll need some everyday dishes, basic tools and utensils to cook, and don't forget to stock up your cleaning supplies. When you tour your future apartment, also make note of whether or not you'll need to bring your own microwave with you. For your living room, find yourself a couch, a coffee table or end table, and if you've already got a laptop, save big by skipping the TV. With your bedroom, honestly, the mattress is the #1 must-have. Other than that, find yourself a bed frame, some pillows, a dresser, and a laundry basket. Unfortunately, bathrooms don't come with soap and toilet paper, and in addition to that, you're gonna wanna grab yourself a plunger, a shower curtain and some rings, and of course, some towels. As for the rest of the house, think through your basic home essentials. It's not a bad idea to grab a doormat, some batteries, and a basic toolkit. Evaluate the space for any furniture you might need and get creative with storage. Lastly, you need to be financially prepared to keep up with your own lifestyle costs. Think through the basics that make your day-to-day life possible. Money for groceries, eating out, transportation, and any other bills you might have. Don't forget to prepare for those expenses that don't happen often but will inevitably happen. Car repairs, vet visits, and spring break 2K21? If it's not canceled? And now that you're potentially overwhelmed at all the costs I put in your head about moving into your own place for the first time, don't rule out all the ways you can save. Roommates split all costs multiple ways. I know you're dying to be independent, but think about it. Half the rent, half the deposit, half of basically everything. You may use double the amount of water, but multiple roommates will still use the same amount of AC, heat, internet, or cable as a single person would, and it's a great way to get a much nicer place at a much cheaper price. Let your friends and family help you out. How many of our grandmas have an extra couch in their basement they haven't sat on in years? You'd be surprised how willing your friends and family will be to donate to your first move, whether it's kitchen supplies, furniture, or even home decor. I know the free green plaid couch isn't exactly what you were hoping your aesthetic would be, but you can always upgrade later and reap the benefits of free now. Also, sites like Facebook Marketplace and FreeCycle can really help you get ahead of the game for next to nothing. Ground level and basement units are often cheaper than upper level units. This could save you anywhere from $10 to $50 extra a month. And let me tell you, it's a lot easier to bring groceries inside a ground level apartment than the 4th floor. Just saying. And last saving tip, consider eliminating some expenses. Sure, the monthly coffee subscription was fun and made sense when you were living with mom and pops, but you weren't also paying to keep the lights on back then. Pare down your excess expenses. You don't need Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus, especially if your roommate already has Hulu. Sharing is caring. My freshman year of college, my roommate and I made a very conscious choice to not get internet for our apartment. We went to the library or the coffee shop down the street whenever we wanted to use the internet or get online classes done. And it was actually super bonding for us because it made our home a much more intentional place. So there you have it. Most everything you need to know about the cost of getting your very first apartment. Outside of just learning to manage your money, getting your first apartment brings along so many other good things. Time management, how to keep a home clean, what's productive to have in your home and what isn't. If you come in with a strong game plan, I am confident you will love this new season you're about to step into. So plan away, save up for that first security deposit, and when the time finally comes, have a wonderful moving day. And probably won't be able to find the bay windows, white trim, and hot tubs. Someone who is contractually obligated to pay your rent if you are ever car repairs, vet visits, and spring break 2K21. How do you say that? Whatever. Oh, shooty patooties. And it's a great way to get a much nicer place at a much cheaper price. Da-da-dun, da-dun, dun, dun.